Once again, everybody, what is the best way to red pill somebody on the left? You simply give them what it is that they want. Well, that guy is at it again. You know, the blonde head guy who's quite frankly really annoying with extremely pale skin. I'm talking about Michael Rapaport. And of course, people are pointing out the fact that he's recently had another one of those rants, you know, these types here.
Gosh, it's horrific, and police did put that video out. And shortly after putting that video out, as well as pictures of the suspects, well, they were able to make additional arrests. Let's go ahead and take a look at that video.
In Israel, Bibi got them. Israel will take care of them. Worry about cops getting beat up in Times Square and walking out with no bail like the Tupac.
He likes to talk about his favorite president, former President Donald Trump. Of course, I mean that sarcastically. So Michael Rapaport has gone through a very, let's just say, strange set of instances in his life since Joe Biden has been president, where, let me just play a little montage for you.
My Rite Aid, and there's nothing to steal because this Rite Aid, like so many other Rite Aids, is closing down because everybody stole everything. And the workers here don't know if they're getting jobs. Congratulations, losers. I'm looking at this shit. This dude, this dude is, I can't believe I'm seeing this shit. This this fucking guy just filled his 2 bags up with everything in Rite Aid right here on 80th and 1st Avenue. He's walking down the street like shit is Gucci. Look at me in my face like, what's good? I was watching him the whole time. My man just went Christmas shopping in January. He had the condoms.
Sounds like the situation is obviously red pilling this guy, but then again, though, anytime somebody brings him up, I can't help but think about that time he got nailed with the snowball.
See this.
You know, this whole crap with this cancel culture and the...
Shut up! Shit, shut the fuck up! Nobody wants to hear it. Fucker. You've been talking all fucking week. You don't care what you have to say, just stop talking.
You got me right in my fucking head, asshole.
Stop.
If you go back and you re-listen to that, the guy who's screaming "shut the F up" in the background sounds a lot like Bill Burr. Let's listen to it one more time.
You know, this whole crap with this cancel culture and the...
Shut up! Shit, shut the fuck up! Nobody wants to hear it. Fucker. You've been talking all fucking week. You don't care what you have to say, just stop talking.
You got me right in my fucking head, asshole.
Stop.
Sounds like Bill Burr, so maybe it was actually scripted. This right here is another reason why it is I'm still a little bit skeptical about his recent takes, not to mention the fact that I'm also playing you guys one more time the B-roll footage. Y'all probably play it again. That time that he was going off about the Palestinian protesters on Veterans Day, and of course it even looks somewhat performative. So I'm just saying that we don't really and truly know, but I'm going to treat this like he's been red pilled to a certain degree because of all the other videos that I've shown you so far in this video. But let's get back on track. Seeing those policies that, quite frankly, he did in fact vote for because, as he likes to say, he voted for smoking Joe Biden. And of course, in his recent rant, he didn't even call Joe Biden smoking. Of course, he went out of his way to say that voting for Trump was obviously still on the table. But like I said before, the best way to red pill somebody on the left is to simply just give them what it is that they ask for. Now, guys, we're obviously going to play a few little clips of Michael Rapaport's pattern of, how do I say, his conversion, because quite frankly, we don't know what the hell is really and truly going on. But you see, guys, the purpose behind this video here is to ask if this little conversion of his is real or if it's fake. Now, in the previous video I did earlier today, which of course will also be out on Monday because I'm releasing these videos the day after I post them, I talked about 50 Cent and how it was that 50 Cent was a little bit irritated with Mayor Eric Adams and basically said that Trump may be the answer. I talked a lot about immigration. I talked about a lot of the things that, quite frankly, Rapaport has been, let's just say, complaining about. Of course, he's actually put his on camera. filmed it with a cell phone, filmed the Rite Aid incident where there was nothing on the shelves. And of course, like you guys saw earlier, the guy who actually robbed his store, and he said, you just walk by me acting like everything is Gucci, everything is good. And of course, we also remember the rant that he had not too long ago about the Palestinian protests. So let me go ahead and remind you guys.
New York City, climb in public in front of crowds of people, rip down UN flags, rip down Israeli flags, rip down American flags on Veterans Day. When the economy is the way the economy is, when I'm paying fucking mortgage rates up, I mean, I'm getting, forget a colonoscopy. You don't need to get a colonoscopy. Go buy a house. The interest rates, go buy a car. And I know Smoking Joe has done some things for I know. But I'm telling you right now, go buy yourself, go check what it's like to buy a car. Buy a house. The money. The fucking chaos in this country. The chaos around the world. If it comes down to pig dick Donald Trump and Smoking Joe Biden, I'm sorry. I am sorry. Voting for pig dick Donald Trump is on the table.
That video looked a little bit weird. It's because I took that from a previous video that I did on this guy. For whatever reason, you can't find it on Twitter anymore. I have no idea what it is. And quite frankly, I'm not going to go through TikTok because I don't want the Chinese having access to my personal data. The thing is this right here. A lot of people have been questioning whether Rapaport is for real. What I mean by a lot of people is people here on the internet wondering if his little show is just good old-fashioned show. He is a comedian. He's a Never Trump comedian. And many people think that maybe he might be baiting his followers. Maybe he's trying to tell his followers that, quite frankly, he is, in fact, voting for the orange guy. Or maybe he's trying to bait them into thinking that something is up. Nobody really truly knows what the deal is with Rapaport. However, Rapaport has always been pretty straight up about his disdain for a certain guy who was in office. And, of course, he obviously did not like the guy. He likes to panic. He obviously talked a lot about the pandemic. He hyped it up, but then he had the world-famous little rant where he came out after he got poked and said, so what, I'm now a super spreader? Of course, we don't have that clip because, for whatever reason, you can't find that clip. But still, at the same time, like I've said before on several occasions, the best way to red pill somebody on the left is to simply give them what it is that they want, what it is that they actually voted for. And Mr. Rapaport is obviously getting a dose of that. Now, let's take a look at this little rant that he released over the weekend. Let's look at it in bits and pieces and in full. Of course, there'll be spots where I actually stop this, and I'll give you guys my honest 2 cents on whether I think this is real or if this right here is just good old-fashioned performative. Because as I'm showing you guys this B-roll footage, it looks like his facial expressions, it looks somewhat performative. But of course, there are people questioning whether he's actually really and truly turning a corner, or if this is all, once again, just bait and just being done for clicks. Let's go ahead and roll this.
6 illegal aliens jumped a New York City cop, NYPD's finest. They jumped a New York City cop in Times Square and were arrested and released without bail. I know it's a city thing. I know it's a state thing. I know all that. I know all that. I know all that. Okay? Stay with me. Released without bail. Came out of the courtroom on some Tupac, raising the middle finger with the Detroit Red Wings jersey. Let me tell you something. What the is the world coming to if you could be from another country, beat up a cop in New York City, and walk out with no bail?
Now, before we go any further, let's talk about the incident very quickly that Mr. Rapaport is, let's just say the incident that he is obviously upset about.
Confronting criticism after 6 suspects accused in the attack on NYPD officers were released without bail. As CBS 2's Lori Bordenaro reports, the DA says that there is still a lot of work ahead of them in this investigation.
It sickened me and outraged me.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg speaking for the first time since this shocking attack on 2 NYPD officers last Saturday outside a migrant shelter in Times Square. Allegedly by a group of migrants who kicked and punched the officers as they were making an arrest. There's been mounting criticism that Bragg has been too lenient.
While the video is shocking and disturbing, in order to secure convictions in a court of law, it is essential that we conclusively identify each defendant.
7 of the 13 allegedly involved were arrested, charged with assaulting an officer. But only 24-year-old Yohenry Brito remains locked up at Rikers. The others released without bail.
My number one priority is protecting the people of this state. And anytime there's an assault on a police officer, which is a very serious offense, it is bail eligible and bail should be sought.
Bail should have been set on those individuals. It was a serious felony and bail should have been set. Why it was not set, I do not know.
Police sources tell CBS 2 4 of the men released may have left the state. Whether they will return for their court date later this month is unclear.
There's no evidence in this case, of any.
I have no idea how you can try to spin this as much as you can, saying stuff like, I have no idea why, look, these guys should not have been given bail. I talked about the fact that they already had a criminal record. They'd already been arrested. One of these guys even bit somebody. This was the attack that occurred last week where 2 police officers were jumped by 5 migrants. Ended up being like 7 people got arrested altogether. Only one of them is still locked up. But this is how bad New York has gotten. So, yes, I can see why it is that Mr. Rapaport is definitely upset. And as I've said before, the best way to red pill somebody on the left is just simply give them what it is that they want. Now, I spoke about this incident before, but you can obviously see exactly how everybody is soft on crime in this instance. And, of course, the evidence is overwhelming, even though I had to put a header over that to obviously avoid YouTube's terms of services. The fact of the matter is that it's not exactly, how do I say, unreasonable that Mr. Rapaport would obviously be upset about this. Now, granted, if you live in New York, you're probably tired of this. I know that I'm tired of this, and I don't even live in the city, but still at the same time, though, it's pretty obvious that, I think everybody should be outraged over this, and obviously District Attorney Alvin Bragg, he needs to go. Letitia James, she needs to go. Kathy Hochul, she's obviously disgraced too. She needs to go. But as I said in the previous video, before we choose to deport these people, I think they need to pull some time in Rikers and serve some time, then get deported and never be allowed to come back. Because if you just up and deport them, they're just going to more than likely end up right back into the country, and they're going to commit more crimes while they're here, even though they're already committing a crime by being here illegally. But then again, though, we have an extremely weak and inept president, which coincidentally, Rapaport does not call smoking Joe Biden anymore. I just figured I would toss that out there before we move any further. Really quick, the incident that he's talking about where cops got jumped was an incident that I covered here recently. Of course, I'll link the video in the description box. It's about Anna Kasparian going off on illegals that they needed to be deported because of an incident that occurred involving 2 individuals jumping 2 police officers in New York City. And then those 2 eventually turned into 4, and then 2 more guys outside that eventually got charged. What Mr. Rapaport more than likely does not know is that every single person that jumped those 2 police officers, let's just go ahead and say they had criminal records. Basically were illegals who had already been arrested before. So obviously the illegal immigration is doing what? It's affecting everybody. It's obviously not just affecting those who live near Randall Island and some of the other places in New York City, but it's obviously affecting people like Michael Rapaport. Now, I have said on multiple occasions in multiple videos that white liberals typically tend, especially those who live in cities, typically tend to not want certain aspects or certain people to be near them. It is their own bias. It is their own, let's just say it's their own form of racism in a way. Just give those people over there whatever it is that they want, as long as they are not in my neighborhood. That right there is what the hell it really and truly is. Now, he is a proud New Yorker, even though he's been living in LA for most of his career. I think he's moved back to New York. He goes back and forth. But still at the same time, New Yorkers, as many of you guys already know, are extremely proud people who are extremely proud of the area that they live in. I want to say it was the Bernard Goetz trial, the subway shooter back in the 1980s, that the prosecutor, who, by the way, was from the Midwest, said in that case, if Mr. Goetz does not like the crime in New York, then he needs to leave New York. He should move somewhere else. It sounds logical, of course, and I've even said this, that you obviously get what it is that you vote for. However, you can't say that to New Yorkers. New Yorkers, and I'm not saying this as an insult, New Yorkers typically tend to love their city. they typically tend to be attached to said city, and therefore they typically don't want to leave said city unless they absolutely have to leave said city. It's one of the reasons why it is that when people think that New Yorkers leave the city, that they're just going to be voting Democrat wherever they go. No. That's not the case. That's not always the case. A lot of the people that I run into who are from the state of New York or from the city actually don't vote at all when they get down south, or they end up voting Republican. They were left for a reason. It got too much. It actually takes a lot to piss off a New Yorker to get them to actually leave the city. But the fact of the matter is this right here. Obviously, this situation is putting a bit of a strain on Mr. Rapaport. Let's watch a little more.
What the is the world coming to? What the is the world coming to? I know, Mayor Adams, you're from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I know this. Like, what the have I gotten myself into? Stay with me. On the same day that happens, Cadaver Joe Biden issues an executive order about 4 quote-unquote settlers in Judea, Samaria, a.k.a. the West Bank. Some troublemakers, 3 of the 4 have already been arrested. You issue an executive order about 4 troublemaking ups who've already been arrested in Judea, Samaria, while there's a war going on, while there's 100 plus. Maybe my city is not the greatest city on earth anymore. If you could beat up cops, in the quote-unquote greatest city in the world and be released without bail, are we the greatest city on earth? Cadaver Joe Biden, we see you. We see you. Don't worry about those in Israel. BB got them. Israel will take care of them. Worry about cops getting beat up in Times Square and walking out with no bail like the Tupac Shakur. Worry about that shit.
The only thing I can say to him is that obviously you voted for this. So therefore, obviously you're putting up with this. However, I do want to say this really quick. Michael Rapaport is a comedian. He is an actor. Obviously, he's got a lot of money. But if he is going back to New York City, and of course, if you guys remember, you saw the Rite Aid, you saw him going inside of a convenience store to buy, obviously, something. And of course, he ends up running into a shoplifter who just straight up walks out with a bunch of stuff, like it's like he said, Gucci. Then maybe he still walks around and does things like everyday New Yorkers. So maybe he really and truly is obviously feeling the pain here. So therefore, when he says something like, pick Donald Trump is on the ballot or not off the table, it's very, very possible that he could, in fact, be telling the truth. But if you guys remember correctly, earlier in this video, I said that there were people out there who wondered if this little conversion was for real. He's a comedian. Obviously, he is a guy looking for clicks. However, I would think that his audience, for the most part, is definitely pretty much, let's just say, a pretty liberal audience. It's not like Dave Chappelle, where Dave Chappelle, of course, is somebody who's not exactly a conservative, but he isn't exactly a liberal either. He definitely did not vote for Trump. He definitely does not support Republican candidates, but he does know that conservatives tend to like his comedy. I like Mr. Chappelle's comedy. I think the Chappelle Show was cutting edge. At least the first 2 seasons were some of the greatest TV I ever saw, some of the most hilarious TV I ever saw. But there is one thing that, quite frankly, does make people, especially myself, think that maybe this little conversion is for real. I got a friend of mine on this platform whose name I don't think I'm going to mention because he's not really on the platform anymore, but obviously he does have a following on Twitter. I'll try to link his Twitter in the description box for you guys, just giving you guys a bit of a heads up. Once again, hyperpolarization. Guys never really bother me, but still they don't exactly always agree with his views. This individual, this guy, this buddy, told me that Michael Rapaport was one of the speakers at the march that occurred in Washington, D.C. back after October the 7th, after the Israeli-Gaza situation first broke out. Rapaport is actually Jewish. Now, I'm not saying there's a slight. You guys know my position on this. I've always been very, very pro-Israel, even though me saying what I just said could still, because of YouTube's terms of service, could in fact knock the ads of this video. But the thing is this right here. Rapaport obviously does have a connection to a certain country that the United States is allied in the Middle East. So it is possible that he's just simply breaking because he realizes that what he voted for, what he supported, wasn't exactly what he thinks he voted for, even though he obviously did. He could have very, very easily gone this entire situation blindly. Now, really quick, I know that I have attacked the left on several occasions. I attack the left all the time, but I will from time to time attack my own and call them out, especially if I think they're in the wrong. But here's the thing that I need to go ahead and say to conservatives. And of course, I'm saying this because it's all, not just because it's an election year, but because it's actually the truth. And there is going to be a follow-up video to the video that I made earlier today and put out on Monday earlier in the afternoon about the situation involving black voters and how to actually treat them, because we're going to be talking more about that on Tuesday. There's been this little beef that has been brought up between Pastor Darrell Scott, Charlie Kirk, and of course Candace Owens. Let's just say some people are not exactly happy about some people's tone. We'll be discussing that in depth on Tuesday. Now, we're getting off topic, but we're getting off topic for a reason. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Michael Rapaport is somebody who's definitely in the middle, never Trumper, who could actually surprise you and swing over for one election cycle. If you want this to end, you're going to need to vote for the Republican ballot. You're going to have to need to vote for the Republican candidate. Chris Cuomo, for example, meathead, Fredo, that guy there, he has basically been open to it as well. So when you're talking about potential voters or people who could come over to your side, at least to help you end the nightmare, you may find yourself adjusting certain portions of your stance. Like I've always said, if you know you did wrong, if you know you messed up, I can work with you if you admit that, hey, look, man, I got that one wrong. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for or whatnot if you're in this case, but I can work with you if you admit you got it wrong. If you prove to us that you're not exactly what we call infected. What I'm saying to you guys is that Michael Rapaport, even though it's possible that it could not be real or it may be real, there's a possibility that there may be people out there that you know that are in this fight who don't like what the other side is doing, but could very well join you for one cycle, and you never know what might happen as a result of this going forward. Obviously, this situation involving crime, immigration, obviously this situation has red-pilled him to a certain degree. So with that right there being said, I'm going to go ahead and just say, look, if you run into people like Mr. Rapaport and you know that they don't really care about what's going on, try to be somewhat patient. Try to hear what it is that they've got to say. Come up with the actual right comebacks to kind of help explain things. Put it this way here. Be as, how do I say this? Be as harmless as a dove and as wise as a serpent. With that right there being said, please tell me what you guys think in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. We're going to try to put a lot of content out this week. I've got some things going on next week that's going to cost me probably a day of posting or maybe a day of content. So we're maybe going from behind. I may have to double up the content to kind of make up for the algorithmic presence for at least one day. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. I also, like I said, please tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me what you think about Mr. Rapaport. Tell me if you think where I'm going wrong or where I'm wrong at. Please do so. And with that right there being said, I'll go ahead and halt the video now, and I'll see you guys later.